Hello everyone, with Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the Caribbean. It is Monday night, August 1, 2023. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video, share it, subscribe and tap notification bell so that you'll be notified every time I post a brand new video. Feel free to leave a comment down in the comment section letting me know whether that's been like your year recently. Also feel free to ask any other related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. I respond to all comments and I really live for this stuff. Alright, so let's just take a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening. We can see that we have a cold front right there off the southeastern coast of the United States that stretches all the way up into the northern section of North Atlantic. We can also see that we have a trough right there across portions of Florida and the northern Bahamas. And we can see that area of low pressure off to the northeast of the Caribbean that the U.S. National Hurricane Center has been keeping their eye on. And if we actually take a look at the main development region, we can see that we have numerous tropical waves, and we also have another tropical wave right here to the east of Jamaica that is also affecting portions of Colombia at this time. Taking a look at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before the sun went down, we can see the clouds associated with that cold front off the east coast of the United States, not to mention the clouds associated with that trough affecting portions of Florida, and we can see that for the most part, majority of the clouds associated with that tropical wave off to the east of Jamaica has dissipated most of the cloud cover associated with it, affecting portions of Haiti and Colombia at this time. Not so much in store for portions of Jamaica at all. We can also see the numerous clouds right here across the main development region associated with those tropical waves, and we can also see the spin associated with that area of low pressure off to the northeast of the Caribbean. We'll be talking more about the Caribbean's weather later on. Let's focus our attention on the prediction that was made in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today, Tuesday. It was stated that we would have received some rainfall across sections of some central and western parishes in Jamaica, and with that upper level wind shear coming in from the south southwest, we would have most of the cloud cover and some of that rainfall spilling into sections of some northern parishes in Jamaica. And what ended up happening? As early as 2:15 p.m., a post was made on our Twitter page and our Instagram and Facebook and TikTok pages, highlighting some clouds bringing overcast skies and isolated thunderstorms to sections of some central and western parishes in Jamaica. And we saw that the upper level wind shear was pushing these clouds off towards the northeast, just as predicted. So bringing more overcast skies, even some of those thunderstorms into sections of Trelawney today as well. And if you actually take a look at the visible satellite images before the sun went down, we can see that we even had some buildup of clouds across sections of Kingston, even sections of Hanover and Westmoreland got a huge burst of convection right there, right before the sun set. And we can see that even better on the infrared satellite images. Right now, we can see that most of that has died down at this time, and most of it has even pushed up towards the west. If we take a look at the Doppler radar images, don't see much happening across the island right now, only some spotty showers off to the south and west. If we actually take a look at the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology's accumulated precipitation for the past 24 hours, we can see that yes, we definitely had some rainfall across sections of Jamaica for today, mainly inland areas of some central parishes, with some of that rainfall spilling into sections of some northern parishes. This map is not 100% accurate, but we do see that yes, we definitely had some amount of rainfall across the area today. Taking a look at the temperatures right now, we can say we have 80 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 26 degrees Celsius in Kingston, and 82 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 27 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, Wednesday, both the Euro and the GFS for 18Z, which is actually 1 p.m. on Wednesday, is showing some amount of yellows, oranges right there across portions of the Central Caribbean, including Jamaica. So we know those yellows and oranges represent some slightly above normal temperatures, maybe up to 3 degrees Celsius above normal in some cases. And we see both the Euro and the GFS showing the same thing. They're in consensus that we're definitely going to be receiving some slightly above normal temperatures for tomorrow. And we know the temperatures for the month of August in Jamaica is about 91 degrees Fahrenheit. That's about the equivalent of 32 degrees Celsius, 32.7. When you round that off, that's about 33 degrees Celsius. And if we're going to be receiving up to 2 or maybe even 3 degrees Celsius above average temperatures for tomorrow, we should be receiving anywhere from 32 to 35 degrees Celsius at most. So ensure that you try to stay cool, try to stay hydrated, and stay out of the sun during peak hours. And if we actually take a look at the dry air map for tomorrow, we can see, well, dry air map for right now, we can see the majority of dry air across the Atlantic basin is right there across the southeastern Caribbean with those yellows, but that's the on the least amount of dry air end of the scale as indicated by the key at the bottom. So we have the least amount of dry air in the yellows, then the oranges, then the reds, and the whites within those reds. And we can see that as usual we have the driest air across portion of the northern main development region, as well as right there up to the northwestern coast of Africa. As it relates to the Saharan dust, however, the forecast for 2 p.m. on Wednesday shows that majority of the heaviest or the most robust plumes of dust associated with the Sahara Desert is right there on the northern end of the main development region as well as to the northwest of Africa, as indicated by those darker shades of browns. As relates to the wave forecast for tomorrow, we can see that we're definitely going to be receiving 1.5-meter wave heights or less across the island or surrounding the island, and we see that on both the Euro and the GFS malls, and that's due to the fact that we're going to be receiving more of an easterly or maybe even more of an east southeasterly kind of flow across the island for tomorrow, averaging up to 20 knots at most. It's definitely going to be windy, especially on the south coast. But where does all of that air pile up? Where do we have the least amount of winds across the island? We see the least amount of winds right there in the areas shaded in blue. And we see that across sections of some inland areas of some central and western parishes right there, and we see it even more on the north coast on the GFS models. And with the upper level wind shear coming in more from the northwest tomorrow, so that looks more northwesterly. This is 18th on Wednesday, that's 1 p.m. on Wednesday on both the Euro and the GFS malls, and we see the wind shear coming in from the northwest. So with all of that air piling up on the northern or inland areas of some northern parishes, and western parishes, you might see those clouds being pushed out towards the south and the east, so something to the opposite of what happened today. So we had those thunder clouds being pushed up towards the northeast. We might see the thunder clouds developing in the inland areas of the island, then being pushed out towards the southern parishes, so more overcast skies, if not rainfall across sections of some southern parishes for tomorrow, but more in the way of overcast skies. And if we actually take a look at the precipitation forecast for tomorrow, the Euro and the GFS are definitely showing some amount of blues that represent rainfall across the island. We see that this is 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 1 p.m. Jamaica time, and we see the blues, the GFS showing more blues across sections of some northern and western parishes in Jamaica, so anywhere from St. Mary westward. So we all know our northern parishes: St. Mary, St. Anne, Trelawney, St. James, and Hanover. And if we actually even take a look, we see portions of Westmoreland and northern St. Elizabeth in there as well. That is just 1 p.m. And we see something similar in the Euro, not so robust or not so, what's the word, in consensus with what the GFS is showing. GFS is more to the north and western side of the island. Euro is showing more and incorporating some eastern parishes. We know the Euro can be wrong sometimes, but what we're looking for is consensus. We're looking for what both maps are actually showing. And if we actually take a look at some hours later, this is 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 3 p.m. Jamaica time. And we do see the consensus now with more of northern Jamaica, seeing those darker shades of blues. Yours a bit robust, showing lots of greens across sections of northern St. Andrews, section of Kingston right there. But that's not that 100% believable, especially considering that GFS is not showing something similar. What it's showing similar, however, is sections of St. Anne, Trelawney getting in on those darker shades of blues right there during 3 p.m. Jamaica time. And we still see most of those areas that were mentioned earlier at the 1 p.m. mark still receiving more of that rainfall. So Northern St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Mary definitely going to be getting in on some afternoon rainfall for tomorrow. So if you live in those parishes, if you have to go to work, ensure that you bring your umbrella so that you're not that drastically affected by that afternoon rainfall. And if we actually take a look at the accumulated precipitation forecast, both maps show here from the Euro and the GFS models are showing definitely that we have some amount of rainfall to receive tomorrow across the island. GFS showing more of that rainfall across northern and western parishes, just as predicted on the 1 hour total map. Euro is showing more of that rainfall across sections of some eastern parishes, but as it relates to the totals, we see the GFS showing up to 0.55 of an inch of rainfall for the totals, while the Euro is showing 0.49 of an inch of rainfall. And we're indeed grateful that we're going to be receiving that rainfall, considering that we are about to exit the secondary dry season in Jamaica. We're entering into the month of August. We see those bar graphs for both Kingston at the top and Montego Bay at the bottom, showing that yes, we're definitely going to be having an increase in the amount of rainfall across the island in general for the month of August. So definitely some good rain is or good rains are coming. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let's focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. So we can see that we definitely have some amount of overcast skies and rainfall across sections of French Guiana, Suriname, sections of Guyana, sections of southern Venezuela, sections of northwestern Colombia, lots of rainfall across sections of Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, Guatemala, sections of El Salvador, Belize, sections of the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico right there. And if you actually take a look at the Doppler radar images of the northeastern Caribbean for today, we can see that yes, we indeed had some amount of rainfall across sections of the Dominican Republic, northern Puerto Rico, northwestern Puerto Rico, section of the US and British Virgin Islands. Not so much rainfall across sections of the Leeward Islands, St. Martin, St. Kitts, St. John's, Montserrat, Guadeloupe, Dominica, finally getting a break from the rainfall that they were receiving, courtesy of the tropical wave earlier this week, or in the weekend, is what I should have said. As relates to the Barbados radar, you can see some rainfall coming in from the east right there. Maybe some heavy rainfall, maybe to affect sections of Barbados in the early morning hours. And we don't see much across majority of the Windward and Leeward Islands at this time. However, when we take a look at the wider view of Doppler radar images, we can see a lot of rainfall coming into sections of Nicaragua, lots of rainfall across sections of Central America in general, those very areas that we just mentioned on the satellite images, we do see confirmation on Doppler radar images. We know that Doppler radar images show the actual rainfall as opposed to satellite images that show cloud cover. And we can definitely have cloud cover over an area and not necessarily any rainfall at all. So that's why these Doppler radars are very much needed, and we hope that the Jamaican Doppler radar is fixed sometime soon. As relates to the temperature forecast, we can see that we're definitely going to be having some above normal temperatures across majority of the Caribbean for tomorrow, stretching all the way from the eastern to the western Caribbean. While as it relates to the Saharan dust forecast for 2 p.m. on Wednesday, we don't have much in the way of Saharan dust, just some slight pale brown shades, not that drastic, not with those darker shades that we see across portions of northwestern Africa. So we're actually, starting to clear up. We're actually moving into the peak of the hurricane season. So we're going to be seeing less robust plumes of Saharan dust, and we're indeed grateful for that. As relates to the wave forecast, we can see that we have the least amount of waves across majority of the Gulf of Mexico, maybe less than a meter wave height across majority of the Gulf of Mexico, while the Caribbean 1.5 meter wave heights or less. And that's due to the fact that we're going to be receiving up to 20 knot winds at most, with the 25 knot winds indicated by the yellows right there to the north of northwestern Venezuela. And majority of these winds should be coming in from the east or the east southeast across majority of the Caribbean. As relates to the rain forecast, however, we can see rainfall stretching all the way around the Caribbean. Not so much across the waters of the central Caribbean, but look at this. We see rainfall to be had. Keep in mind that these maps are showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 10 p.m. on Wednesday, and we see rainfall in store for sections of Florida, sections of the Bahamas, not so much for the Turks and Caicos. We do see rainfall in store for Haiti, Dominican Republic, majority of Puerto Rico, sections of the Leeward Islands, Guadeloupe southward, maybe sections of Martinique, sections of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, Tobago, Trinidad, sections of French Guyana, Suriname, Guyana, southern Venezuela, sections of Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, El Salvador, Guatemala, sections of Belize, and sections of the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico, and just like what we mentioned earlier, sections of Jamaica as well, not to mention sections of some southeastern Cuba as well, not so much across northern and western Cuba at all. And we see consensus on both maps. Another one we have consensus like this, the chance of it actually happening are much higher. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.